This is heavy. This is pretty heavy subject. Let me
Is
spin
it
my
a heavy
fidget spinner.
subject or a heavy fidget spinner?
Why not both? Why not Patrick?
This is Neighbors IRL, a weekly challenge podcast hosted by Eddie Sang and Daryl Lee. This week's challenge: use your left hand. Turns out we don't know anything about fashion still, though.
We probably should never talk about fashion ever again.
Yeah, so our audience has spoken. Feedback came in for this follow-up topic. Turns out we don't know anything about fashion. So I think the most appropriate thing we can do, Eddie, is to continue to talk about fashion as much as possible so that we can learn.
So we can get good.
No,
So I thought about, where I want to take my fashion in the future. And I think after my 20s, I'm going to start to try to get into a more minimalist fashion style where I'll have relatively the same things every single day, just in very minimal amounts of combination. So, for example, like one pair of jeans and one pair of dress pants and, like 5 t-shirts and 2 tank tops and that sort of stuff.
are they going to be Burberry branded?
No.
So they're going to be plain clothes.
Well, plain clothes match the best with other plain clothes? I don't know. It's just...
The less patterns they are on clothes, the easier they match. Because solid colors matches with solid colors. Oh, Eddie, we don't know anything about fashion. Oh, it turns out.
It's not that it's not the fashion aspect of it. It's just like one part of that aspect. I think there is a beauty to living a minimalist lifestyle as well. And whereas right now, like we're still living in our parents' homes, I think when I move out in my, late 20s to mid 30s, I think that's something to explore for me. And in terms of fashion, in terms of the amount of stuff I have, the way I organize my life, the way I think about trying to get satisfaction in the things I have, those are things to explore with regards to fashion.
Fair enough. I can't, sorry, I sound distracted right now. I can't help but thinking, when people tell us you don't know anything about fashion, but on this show, we talk about a lot of topics we don't know anything about, like fashion. And I'm just wondering, do we sound incompetent in every topic we talk about? But, I mean, I guess I appreciate the feedback from our listeners that we don't know anything. I guess people like fashion, man. I don't understand.
I don't know.
It's okay.
It's something. It's something to think about. Something we can't answer. I can't answer right now, but I'd have to think about that.
Yes, dear listeners, please keep telling us whether or not
we're
fashionable or incompetent, or if you have some thoughts that Eddie and I didn't touch upon during our conversation. Segue, like this question I was asked. It seemed that, Eddie, you seem to have some sort of aversion to people buying clothes just for themselves or whatever, like you discussed. Have you changed your mind, or have you developed new thoughts on this topic?
In my half-thought opinion, I do change my opinion somewhat.
That's good. That is always a good thing.
So I do change my opinion in the fact that I think for the majority of people, we buy the clothes for ourselves so that we could fit in with other people. I think it's very easy to discredit the social aspect when it comes to providing signals to other people, whether that's you want to look sexy or you want to look just like everyone else, or you want to look a very particular way that sends a particular message where you belong to a particular group of people. And I think a part of human nature is just to want to belong to a group. And that's why I think...
And fashion fits into that as well, yeah?
Yes, and that's where the whole fashion topic fits in.
But maybe some people are interpreting those good feelings from fitting in as buying clothes from themselves. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think that way.
It could be that the process of buying clothes is that expectation versus reality thing, where when you're buying the clothes, you're like, oh, wow, I'm going to impress so many people. I'm going to fit into this group. And then that's sort of what spurs it over and over and over and over again, because you're doing this thing that it's like, oh, I'm going to fit in with this group, or I'm going to be fashionable. People are going to recognize me as this type of person. It's going to be great. And perhaps that's why. Or we could just be really incompetent and not have a very
an underdeveloped opinion or a alternate opinion. Alternate facts, turns out. Follow-up question. Do you consider shopping a hobby?
Do I consider shopping a hobby? Ooh.
Yeah, I was asked that, and that interested me, because I'm not sure how I feel about shopping as a hobby.
Yeah, that is a very interesting question. I would go as to say, if there's no flavor in this hobby, or in the way that you're trying to achieve a goal, I would say no.
I'm confused as to what you mean by flavor.
For example, would a very specific type of shopping be a hobby? For example, a person could say, sometimes I go thrifting in the fact that I challenge myself to take $5 and make a whole wardrobe out of it only through thrifting. Would that be a hobby?
I don't know. How do you define hobby? I thought of hobby as something one does. And then...
But wouldn't that fit into
the counterpoint would be, well, buying something is an activity. My thinking was, it just seems weird when the act of buying is the activity. For example, for my firearms hobby, I buy guns to do the hobby. I purchase a tool and then use that tool to do an activity. And using the tool is the activity. It's not the act of buying things or buying objects that's the activity.
Right. So would you agree with me that
I don't know,
has to have like a reproducible, tangible or intangible feeling or good that is produced from said hobby?
Well, I guess if people find shopping fun, it could be a hobby for them. So, this question did weigh on my mind heavily. And the first thing I did was to type into Google, do you consider shopping a hobby? And then the tag word Reddit after it, so I can get the hive mind's opinion, very superior. And look at this, r/female fashion advice. Do you consider shopping a hobby? Response by Gemma the Jerk, January 30th, 2016. This is interesting because I will spend most of my spare time on weekends and weeknights reading up on stuff like clothes and makeup, or filling up imaginary shopping carts and that sort of thing. I follow a bunch of blogs and post about these sorts of things, and just generally spend a lot of my time on these topics because they are genuinely something I am interested in. So it has all the markings of a hobby. But someone whose hobby is like homebrew beer brewing or extreme sports will spend hundreds to thousands per year supporting their hobby, and no one will blink an eye. Whereas if I ever let it slip that I spent a couple thousand on clothes or makeup last year, I would be assumed to be a girl with a vapid and frivolous shopping problem. So are fashion and beauty really less legitimate hobbies to spend money on if they take an equal amount of free time and bring an equal amount of joy in our lives?
Interesting.
Eddie, as a man who spends hundreds to thousands of dollars collecting things like perfumes and cameras and I don't know, what else are you into?
Watches.
Mechanical keyboards.
Keyboards and watches, nice.
Would you consider those things hobbies?
Wow.
See, the same people who you nag on as I just buy clothes for myself, I enjoy the act of shopping, they could say the very same thing about your hobbies, Eddie. Did I just flip your world upside down?
That begs the
begs the question.
I don't even understand what that means still. Anyways, so I mean that really, the fundamental question before I can answer that is, do you think collecting things counts as a hobby?
I mean, I personally don't collect anything, but I can see how someone could enjoy collecting something as a hobby. But I'd say on the hobby spectrum, my own hobby spectrum, collecting things would be a bit lower than hobbies that are actual activities, maybe sports, video games. But I think that shopping could be put under the collecting hobby category. But it seems most collecting hobbies, the items are more permanent.
Right.
But some people who do shopping as a hobby, the items may not be as permanent. It also depends, like, for example, sneakerheads, they'd collect shoes and never wear them. Or some people collect sports jersey and just frame them up. Or, like, put them on a case or a collection. And those people are collecting fashion, or you can say they're using shopping as a hobby, but they never actually wear the items they're collecting. Then I can also think, you can also argue that's would be less of a hobby because you're not even using the items you're collecting. That just seems a little wasteful.
Right.
But some people may derive pleasure from just like maybe the lore or the feelings they have attachment towards like their favorite athlete's jersey or shoes or what have you.
I think there might be a distinction to be made about just liking something a lot or actually having it as what someone would classify a hobby. I think that if I put it that way, we could probably set some rules or some laws of like what would differentiate a hobby from something you just like a lot, or when can that be called that in regards to different types of hobbies as well, where for example, collecting or sports and that sort of stuff, physical activities. This is tough. This is a tough. These are some tough questions.
Very first world questions.
These are.
I love it.
Well, I mean, like in a very black and white view, like ultimately the question would be like, can you have bad hobbies? Can you have too many hobbies? Should we have hobbies?
Do you have too many hobbies, Eddie?
I don't think so. Because you can always put away hobbies in the background and come back to them later. It's not like you can have too many hobbies.
Interesting. Okay, Wikipedia defines a hobby as an activity, interest, enthusiasm, or pastime that is undertaken for pleasure or relaxation, typically done during one's own time. And I did a Control F. Shopping is on the Wikipedia list of hobbies.
Ooh.
Well, you can't argue with the repository of all human knowledge, the ultimate reference, Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. So I guess, despite our views or thinking, shopping is a hobby. It's put under outdoor hobbies, which I don't know about that. On the same list as shooting, mountain sports, mountain biking, stone skipping, surfing, baseball, archery, air sports. So, begs the question, which I used incorrectly.
Yeah.
Either way, we were told not to talk anymore about fashion. We just did an entire segment on fashion. So please, let us know how we were wrong.
Okay. Anyways, following up on smart wearables. So I did figure out what that watch was called last week that we talked about, where if you have a calendar appointment, it lights up in a different color. So it is called the What Watch. And you can follow it at www.whatwatch.com. WHATWATCH.com.
I can't spell. Is this our first sponsor? This is exciting. What watch?
WHAT? Did I just say it wrong?
You'll include a link in the show notes, no problem.
WHATWATCH. What watch?
What watch?
Like what watch? Anyways, you want to take a look at it?
I can't spell it. How do you spell it?
What? WHAT. Like
HAT. Oh, what watch? I heard what watch. What watch? It's not a smartwatch. It's more of a fashion accessory. Link in the show notes. Speaking of people, we have show notes for our show. If you're confused as to what visuals we're describing or links or graphics or references, there are show notes. And if your podcast app doesn't let you view these show notes, you may want to
probably get
find
another one.
another podcast app. Okay, the What Watch. They look nice.
Yes.
Is it just kind of like a very primitive on-off for how busy your day is based on the coloring?
Yeah. It's a slightly smartwatch. I'd classify that as.
It's like a low-level smartwatch. It's
Yeah,
like just dipping its pinky toe into the water, the ocean of technology watches.
So for people that can't see it right now, it's basically what looks like a normal analog watch with the hands and the hours and everything. And when you have an appointment, the quadrant in which you have this appointment, for example, from 2 to 3, lights up as a different color. And so you could quickly glance at your watch to see, oh, I have something at this time and something at from 5 to 6 or from dinner from 8 to 10. It's
interesting.
slightly smart
It's
watch.
definitely interesting. I don't think I would personally want one, but I can see how someone who's into a minimalist lifestyle would enjoy something like this.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a bit more information, but it's hard to put on like what these appointments throughout the day actually mean.
Yeah, and
But at that point, you might as well grab your phone. So,
I mean, it's just the way that it fits into your life, right? So it's up to the user to figure that out. Anyways, another follow-up. So I was...
Wait. Hold up.
Whoa.
Points of order.
Whoa.
Speaking of smartwatches and SOS signals, I accidentally sent one this week. I figured out what the SOS function on the phone is.
Okay.
So, here's the SOS message I sent out this week. Let me read it. It says, "I need help." And it has a Google Maps link of my current location. It sent 2 pictures, one from the front camera, one from the back camera, and a 5-second audio recording of the current thing. And then it sent another one, SOS exclamation mark, and then again had my Google Maps link in there. So on the Samsung phone, you activate it by quickly pressing the power button 3 times. And turns out if you have tight pants fashion and you quickly press the power button 3 times, it will activate this SOS message. So clearly this function was too easy to activate, and I have turned it off for now. But I'd like to see like a combination of like power button, home button, or like power button screen swipe, some sort of acknowledgement for the SOS, or like some sort of 2-step, so there's no easy activation. Because I remember back in the day of quick contacts, power contacts, quick
Favorites?
calls.
Speed dial.
Some people would put 911 on the speed dial, and it accidentally activate 911 calls too easily, emergency calls. So, yeah, I think good function, good feature, but you need to be able to make it not activate so easily.
Yeah, smartphone manufacturers gotta figure out a way that to have ease of use and also reliability. You can't be on the floor and your chest is in severe pain and you're like trying to solve math equations.
That is my alarm clock. Yeah. But I think it'd be best if they'd let us customize how we'd like to activate the function. I think that could be a good balance between being too easy for some people and too hard for other people, and also not being able to accidentally activate the function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
All right, jazz break.
Follow-up, though.
More follow-up.
Gotta clear up the follow-up log. Follow-up.
God, you're already 10 minutes late to your dinner.
Follow-up.
All right.
Speaking of more topics we know nothing about.
Great.
Cars.
Okay, yeah, we're doing it.
Listen. Last week's podcast was listened to by one Subaru expert.
All right.
One Mr. Cameron Chambers.
Okay, Cameron.
Give you an idea of his vast resume. He's always owned a Subaru, I think. I don't actually know. From Northern Ontario.
God bless.
Drove in the mountains for hours and hours and hours in Alberta. Subaru Legacy. And did ice road racing in Northern Ontario. He asked you one question. Do you drive stick? Question.
I do not.
Okay, I'm guessing he probably doesn't need all-wheel drive in Markham. Instead, he should focus on getting a Ford Focus. They're cheaper, more kick, and more fun. And he can take the money he saves on purchase price, insurance, maintenance, whatever, and invest into the market. And by the time he gets around to buying a new car, he can afford something more exotic or foreign, like a BMW, Mercedes, or Audi. Actually, if he wants an all-wheel drive that fits in with the Markham people, tell him to get an Audi.
So, okay, listen. Listening to the episode again, I feel like you were way too over-rustled.
I am definitely 100% over Russell.
On the fuel efficiency of and the maintenance of Subarus in particular.
You are correct.
So,
and with more reflection, I realize I too don't deserve my Samsung S7 phone. I will yield this position. I too buy things I do not need.
yeah. So, I mean, by your definition, you should be hating on every single luxury car that you see because they are all what's the phrase that you used?
Overkill.
Oversuited. You used a really good word.
I don't remember now.
Oversuited, over
Rustled.
Yeah, well, you're pretty much over rustled. But by definition, every single, or most of every single, vehicle that you see that doesn't have a full load on it is also overkill. Honda Odysseys, around 8 kilometers per liter.
Eddie,
Ford
little do you know,
150s.
every time I do see a vehicle on the road, a single tear rolls down my eye. Every time I see a truck that is not dirty, a single tear rolls down my eye. Every time I see a crossover with one person inside on the highway clogging the DVP, a single tear rolls down my eye.
See, I feel like you should be fighting the top down, not the bottom up.
In my magical universe, everyone would be driving a one-passenger smart car or biking. But I see you do have a list of fuel efficiencies listed there. You seems like you've done some research for this topic.
I think you were just too over rustled in terms of.
I'm willing to hear your points.
Okay, listen. I think you should fight top down, not bottom up. I don't think you should be plaguing the common man in his Subarus while there's like Honda Odysseys, Ford F-150s, Honda CR-Vs that just use more fuel than a Subaru. I don't think that your plight is a one for the community to be, but I feel like your plight is a personal plight that you just don't like Subarus.
Whoa, Eddie, to clarify, I love Subarus. My favorite vehicles driving in the mountains was these Subarus. But I am a reality man, and in the reality of Markham, the suburb, a single tear rolls down my eye every time I see those vehicles you listed, including the Subarus. But I do understand. It's a hobby, right, Eddie?
Could be.
Buying and collecting nice things, modding them out, tinkering with them. I don't think I've seen a Subaru in Markham this week that wasn't modded in some way. And I guess if people enjoy their Subarus, then enjoy your Subaru. But I will have to state my opinion every time. And from a humanity net good point of view, I should be fighting top down, like you said. In fact, I shouldn't even worry about cars. I should worry about companies.
Yeah.
Who waste a lot more. But you have to start in your own backyard. And Eddie, as neighbors and friends,
I don't think so.
You are my start point in my backyard of fixing the plight of overkill.
Listen,
cars.
there's a lot of monkeys in this world, man. It takes more than 2 people to fight all the monkeys, to change all the minds of the monkeys. You gotta start collectively, not individually.
It's okay, Eddie.
You gotta create a Facebook group. You gotta freeboot some gas guzzling videos.
No, that's not how you do it. But listening to our conversation again, it seems you have your heart set on your Subaru WRX. And if you purchase one, I will be happy for you as a single tear rolls down my eye.
Listen, okay, I'm fine with not getting Subaru. I think all-wheel drive is just cool.
Do you think you'd be purchasing an all-wheel drive vehicle still, Subaru or not?
Depends on really like price. If I could, I would get a Nissan Leaf. Amazing. It's fully electric. It's probably one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen, but fully electric. It's got electric torque. I have no idea what I just said, but all I know is it just goes when you hit the pedal. So,
I too am a big believer in electric cars.
but we just need to start getting the infrastructure for electric cars, and I think people I think people would generally be happier with electric cars.
Probably, but it is the correct tool, I think, for a Markham driver. But in fact, I wouldn't buy a car in my dream lifestyle. I would be living in a highly populated city where you can just bicycle anywhere. No, walking is not a good form of transportation. You can bicycle anywhere you need, and if you want to do a weekend trip, you can rent a car.
Hey,
because I think personal car ownership is one of the most wasteful activities that our country does. Between the load of manufacturing, fabrication, engineering, everything, and the fact that the car is not used 99% of the time. If you're an average family in the suburbs, you drive your car from home to work, let it sit for 8 hours, and drive your car from work to home and let it sit overnight. The car is not used a majority of its life. And a single tear rolls down my eye every time I think about this fact.
Okay, listen, I think in my ideal world, it'd be like a communistic like ride sharing system where like, oh, if you want to go somewhere, just put it on your smartphone, plot a map down, like a bus comes by, picks you up, and takes you in a route that sort of passes by where you need to go as well.
Yes, and this is why I'm excited about these driverless, autonomous electric cars being owned by one all company. No one will have to own cars anymore. It'll be exact same thing as Uber today. You just send them your GPS location and send them where you want to go. And the algorithm will figure out which car can they divert to pick you up and instantaneously drop you off at wherever you need to be.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And no one will need to own cars anymore. It'll be beautiful.
I'm all down for that life.
And then cars will be like horses, Only like really rich people will drive their 2030 Subaru Legacy out to the racetrack and then, trot it along, feed it some gasoline that you can't buy anymore, and then just drive around the racetrack.
Listen, I don't think even in the future cars will even be allowed on the streets. Those cars need to be housed at the racetrack because you can't drive them home.
So it'll be as if you can't ride a horse on the highway anymore. You got to put your horse in your trailer and attach it to your car. In the future, you'll have to put your human driving car into a self-driving vehicle and then have that self-driving vehicle drive you out to the racetrack. Cars will be like horses.
Future's coming. Future's coming. I can feel it.
Challenge. This week's challenge was to use your left hand as much as possible.
So, using chopsticks with your left hand is really, really hard.
Turns out.
Has anyone ever told you that?
Yeah, I realized. So I ended up using a fork instead, or a spoon. Turns out forks and spoons are kind of superior eating utensils for most cases.
But do you think that if you use chopsticks for a while with your left hand, you could start connecting those mind to body connections a lot faster than using a fork and a spoon?
Maybe, but I don't think it's worth my effort when I just need to eat and go on with my day. So,
well, the end goal is not just eat and go on with your day. The end goal is to try to get your left hand to a level comparable to your right hand, right?
I don't think comparable. I think just kind of have it not trailing along 100 kilometers back. Just have it trailing along.
Comparable was a generous word. It was a very generous word.
Yeah, muscular imbalance is a real thing apparently. So yeah, I just wanted to see if using my left hand as a challenge would kind of help that. But Turns out the left hand's too far behind. It's just gonna be left behind now. But I think I'll try to continue doing tasks I can do with my left hand, like brushing my teeth or whatever. Try to get some more muscular use or use out of my left hand. I
Oh,
guess.
brushing the teeth was
Brushing the teeth was pretty hard. Turns out.
I mean, I'm down for a revisit.
I think I will just revisit for the rest of my life. Let me give you a list of everything that I noticed was really hard using your left hand. Okay, Samsung phone layout assumes you're right-handed. Like all of the easy buttons to reach and the default layouts are
Really?
on the right hand.
Is there
a lot of
any-
applications you use are assumed to be right hand. So for example, on the Chrome, the new tab button is on the right side. And if you change your phone to a one-handed layout or one-handed keyboard, the keyboard shoves all the way to the right side, assuming you're right-handed. Privilege. Fridge handles were pretty hard to use with your left hand. And a lot of doors assume you're also right-handed. Some doors, if they open both ways, was fine, whatever. Writing with your left hand is pretty hard. I tried that for a day and then gave up really quickly. A lot of gaming mouses, guns, whatever, hobby-type equipment assumes you're right-handed. So, car keys, or the car ignition hole. Man, we know a lot about cars. Let's keep talking about cars. The car ignition hole is on the right-hand side. Can openers assume you're right-handed as well. That was pretty rip. And the zippers on your pants assume you're right-handed.
I think the hardest part about this challenge was because it's so ingrained in muscle memory, just trying to do everything in your right hand. It's just so, I thought it was really, really easy to forget.
Oh, it was super easy to forget. I had to like tape some of my fingers for a couple of days to like try to use my right hand more, and that didn't even work. I think I didn't do this challenge quite as well as I thought I would. Turns out
I would agree with that as well for myself. But it was just before I even realized, what I was trying to do, I'd already finished. It's like, oh wait, oh.
Yeah.
Like that
Classic misdirection.
Classic brain.
One last thing I noticed. When browsing your phone at night with my left hand, I had to switch up my phone holding position. I don't know, Eddie. Okay, what is your default mode of holding your phone? Like, just pick up your phone and start using it. For context, you have the iPhone 7 Plus.
7 Plus, yeah.
Very big phone. Now just put it in your right hand and just start swiping a bit, whatever.
So my phone is so big that it has to be used with two hands, and that's why I didn't find that much of an issue with that, because mostly both my hands would be on my phone if I'm trying to use it at any given point in time.
Yes, but at night you're tired, whatever. You decided that using your phone in your bed right before you sleep is for you. Very healthy habit.
Delicious.
And you just want to lazily scroll through whatever, and you just want to one-hand it. How do you hold your phone? Just like this.
My
good
pinky,
visuals for the listener here.
My pinky resting underneath.
Okay, so use the load-bearing pinky technique as coined by John Syracuse at
Very
some point.
Very technical, yes.
So we'll include show notes to all these phone holding positions, but just imagine you're using your pinky, like the second portion, joints, whatever, of your pinky to hold up the load of your phone if you're holding it upright. Now, if you were laying in bed and had the phone screen on top of your face, which apparently you never do, the load-bearing pinky doesn't work anymore. So how did you hold your phone? Or you just never did that?
I just laid it flat on the bed and then just peered up over it. So I would peer up over my flat phone on my bed and then just start swiping on it.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. I've evolved, okay? I've evolved from dropping phones on my face. It's not that hard.
Okay, clearly I haven't. So let me tell you about my phone holding positions, because this is all very interesting. Of all the things I've noticed this week, this is like the one point of interest for me. Okay, with my right hand for laying down screen browsing, I do a pinching maneuver between my ring and middle finger on the back of my phone and my index and pinky finger on the front of the phone. And then I use my thumb to swipe. Now I tried that on my left hand, and apparently it's impossible to like actually do.
How are you even holding like that?
We'll include pictures
That's
of
crazy.
We'll include pictures. So if I'm laying down, I don't want the phone dropping in my face, so I have to hold it. I have to pinch it between my fingers. But this was very hard to do
How is that
with
even...
my left hand. So I tried to use the load-bearing pinky maneuver, but this too was impossible, as if with just the load-bearing pinky, it would fall on my face again.
Is that even a standard holding position? Do companies know?
So I evolved once more into what I like to call the load-bearing thumb. So I kind of have my hand in an L shape with the thumb at the very bottom, and I use my left index finger to scroll the screen. So I guess this is the peak point of our podcast. We should just stop now. This is the most interesting topic we've discussed.
How do you even hold things like that?
Load-bearing thumb or the pinch maneuver?
I
don't know if it's called the pinch.
The pinch,
the pinky squeeze. It's comfortable, man.
Those look really uncomfortable.
It's very, especially if you're lying down. There's no other way to hold your phone
without it dropping on your
face.
Yes.
The only problem with the pinch maneuver is that my index finger covers the front-facing camera. So if you're video calling whilst lying down, it's quite an unpleasant viewing experience for the other party.
So your technique is the Brady Heron, where you've just learned to deal with the problem better. And my method of solving this problem is I did the CGP Grey, where I just removed the problem.
You just put the phone on the bed. Turns out
I just removed the problem.
So overall, I thought it was an okay challenge. I just wanted to try something different. Apparently, all my challenges were to machoistic. Machoisticis. Machoisticis.
Anyway, you know what? I thought it was a good challenge. I thought it was something different.
There was something different.
Something different from the norm.
I enjoyed it, but I'm just going to use my right hand because reasons.
This week's challenge, Daryl, I want you for 1 week. I heard you like what's the mission statement of this podcast?
To improve our lives every day by doing frivolous challenges.
To perform masochistic challenges. So, this week, I want us to count our calories for 1 week.
Count our calories. This would be interesting. Like a food diary.
Yeah. And just reflect on, what you can improve on. How detailed do we want this to be?
Well,
do you want the times?
I have used to English. Once upon a time, I did count my calories with a nifty Samsung app called S Health. Now, I'm not sure how accurate it is. Basically, you list down what food you ate. So, for example, chicken breast, and then you estimate how much chicken breast you ate. So, say 50 grams of chicken breast, and then it'll tell you how many calories, proteins, fats, carbohydrates on it. So, I guess I'll just continue doing that again.
Yeah.
I ended up stopping because I didn't know how accurate it was, and I didn't really have any health goals.
That's a lot of work.
It wasn't too much work with S Health. I don't know. What app are you going to use? Obviously, being young millennials, we're going to use a phone application to do this.
Oh, obviously.
Have you already picked out your preferred phone application?
I have not.
Eddie, this surprises me. You are the type of man to research what you do, and after many years of research, you'll pick the correct one, the correct application that's maybe 1% better than the next one.
I mean, that's factually incorrect, but so we're just gonna go blind with this. Listen, I don't worry. Look at my face. Do I worry? I don't worry. I don't worry. We're gonna do it.
All right, counting calories.
Let's go.
Getting healthy.
Maybe.
Probably not. Neat.